So here I'm looking at the Honor X6b versus the Honor X7b, and at slightly different prices, which one is best for you? So one of the most noticeable difference between the Honor X6b and the Honor X7b is the displays on both of these phones. For the Honor X6b, you get a 6.5-inch 720p display with a 90Hz refresh rate, a rather dated teardrop notch which houses the 5-megapixel selfie camera, and then a pretty large chin at the bottom. Now, whilst the display in itself isn't bad, it's got nice colours, it is of course lower resolution at only 720p, it's around 250 pixels per inch. So if you're someone that's used to using higher resolution displays, that is something that you're likely to notice on the Honor X6b. But overall, it's been absolutely fine for me. I haven't really noticed that drop in resolution. But then when you go over to the Honor X7b, it's upgraded to a 6.8-inch 1080p display with a 90Hz refresh rate, and it has got slightly slimmer bezels, a slimmer chin at the bottom, and slimmer bezels all around the phone, and then a more up-to-date punch hole cutout which houses a higher resolution 16-megapixel selfie camera. So it's an upgrade overall when it comes to the display on the Honor X7b, higher resolution, more up-to-date punch hole cutout, and slimmer bezels all around. And as for the rest of the phone, it is an all plastic build on both of these phones. You get nice flat edges on the Honor X6b with the usual volume rockers on the right with a power button with integrated fingerprint scanner, USB-C charging port at the bottom, 3.5mm headphone jack, single bottom firing speaker, and a microphone. And on the Honor X7b, it is exactly the same, power button with integrated fingerprint scanner, volume rockers, 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port, microphone, and single bottom firing speaker. You do get a microphone at the top of both of these phones as well, and you do get an IR blaster at the top of the X7b, but that is missing from the Honor X6b. And then on the left of both of the phones, you of course get your SIM tray, which can house obviously a SIM card and then provisions for a micro SD card to expand that memory. So overall, I really like the design of both of these phones. Of course, the Honor X6b has a very similar design to the Honor X6, X6a, X8, X8a, there's so many of them, all different names, and they're all very similar. And of course the Honor X6b shares the design with the more upper range Honor 70, Honor 90. It has the same dual camera island on the back. I really like both. The Honor X6b doesn't attract as many fingerprints. It is a slightly more matte finish, at least on this black model, than the Honor X7b, which does attract quite a few fingerprints. But overall, I really like the design of both of these phones, and they've been absolutely a pleasure to use in terms of feeling in the hand. And when it comes to the performance from both of these phones, they both come, unsurprisingly, with entry-level processors. The Honor X6b comes with a MediaTek G85 processor, one that's been around for a number of years now, but it's one of those, I feel, old reliable processors which doesn't give you blazing performance, but it is absolutely fine for the basics and has been absolutely fine in my use. The Honor X7b has a Snapdragon 680 processor. Again, it's been around for a little bit and it is on a couple of other budget Honor devices, and I've used it on a couple of other phones as well. And again, that's a reliable processor, not high-end performance, but it is absolutely fine for my typical use. The Honor X7b has a couple of extra gigs of RAM at 6GB over the 4 on the Honor X6b, which just helps with overall multitasking and just handling tasks just a little bit better. The X7b does tend to feel just a little bit smoother, opens apps a little bit quicker, and that could be down to just those extra couple of gigs of RAM just to help open those apps just that little bit quicker. But again, overall performance on both of these phones has been absolutely fine. They do measure basically identical when it comes to benchmarks if you're interested in the actual numbers from both of these devices. But overall, I think both of these are absolutely great for a bog standard user. I would even class myself as a bog standard user, absolutely. I don't do any intense gaming, video editing, or anything on these devices, and they're absolutely fine. And when it comes to battery life on both of these phones, absolutely incredible. You get 2 days easily from even moderate use on both of these phones. You get 5,200 milliamp hours on the Honor X6b, and then a 5,330 around that on the Honor X7b. Now those are just some really big numbers, and when you take into account the low power draw from both of these processors, especially the lower resolution display on the Honor X6b, you get some really fantastic battery life. And both phones come with support of up to 35-watt wired charging, which is becoming a little more commonplace in budget phones today, but that is still some pretty good charging speeds for both of these. Of course, it's not 60 watts, 80 watts or anything like that you'll find on more expensive flagships. But for a budget phone with 35-watt charging, absolutely great. And these phones will last and last. And when it comes to the software on both of these phones, out of the box, they are a little bit different. Android 14 with the Magic OS version 8 on top on the Honor X6b. The Honor X7b is running Android 13 with Magic OS 7.2 out of the box. But I have recently had an Android 14 update and Magic OS 8.0 update on this Honor X7b. So it is nice and up to date with the Honor X6b. But Magic OS is the usual experience that I've had. It's one of my favorite skins that I use. You get loads of customization options with your themes and your wallpapers. It's not too clunky. There's a couple of Honor's own apps, their own app market and stuff like that. And you do get things like booking.com preloaded on the phone out of the box. But of course, that sort of thing you can uninstall straight away. And with the update to Android 14 on the Honor X7b, that does come with Honor's Magic Capsule, which comes out of the box on the Honor X6b, which if you're not familiar, is similar to Apple's Dynamic Island. Of course, not as intuitive or not as good as Apple's version, but it gives you that look at timers, music playing, phone calls, all that sort of stuff at the top. A nice feature, and it can only get better as the generations improve. So overall, Android 14 and Magic OS on both of these phones is absolutely fine. It's one of my favorite skins to use, including Samsung's One UI and of course stock Android. But if I had to pick another one, it'd be Magic OS. Okay, so before I go any further in this video, just want to point out a couple of mistakes that I come up with. I said 16 megapixel selfie camera on the Honor X7b is actually an 8 megapixel selfie camera, still more than the 5 megapixels on the Honor X6b, but that is one error that I made. And I also, I think, mentioned that the Honor X7b has a single firing speaker at the bottom, but in fact the Honor X7b comes with stereo speakers where it's just a single speaker on the Honor X6b. So apologies for the mistake, hopefully I've righted it. And lastly, if I just talk about the cameras on both of these phones, for the Honor X6b, you get a dual camera setup with a 50 megapixel f1.8 primary camera and a 2 megapixel depth camera. But that's upgraded on the Honor X7b to a 108 megapixel f1.8 primary, a 5 megapixel ultra wide, and then that same 2 megapixel depth camera. And overall photos on both of these phones in plenty of light come out pretty good. Naturally, the Honor X7b is going to come out with better, higher resolution photos, being a newer 108 megapixel sensor. But the 50 megapixel photos on the Honor X6b are pretty good. They're not the best, about what you'd expect from a phone that costs about 100 quid. And with the Honor X7b, you get the use of that 5 megapixel ultra wide. I don't like these 5 megapixel ultra wides. They're not very good at all. Detail is pretty lacking, but having said that, you do get that flexibility of having that ultra wide. Personally, for me, I'd rather just do a panorama photo using the higher quality main cameras than using that 5 megapixel ultra wide. But for convenience, it's there. You can use it if you want to. But here are a few more photo and video samples coming from the main cameras on the Honor X6b and the Honor X7b, and some selfie cameras and video topping out at 1080p on both of these phones. Let me know down in the comments what you think. So that's my comparison between the new Honor X6b and the Honor X7b. Overall, they're both pretty decent phones, and for what you're paying for both of the phones, I don't think you can complain too much. Both come with a 90Hz display, both come with stellar battery life, some pretty quick charging, and pretty nice build quality. Now, at the moment, the Honor X6b is available on Amazon for just 90 quid. And the Honor X7b, if you get it in black, it's 120. And if you pick up the green model, it's 130. Personally, I'd rather pay the extra 30, 40 quid to get the Honor X7b just for that high resolution display, that high resolution main camera, and that slightly bigger battery. But overall, I don't think you'll be too disappointed if you pick up either of these phones. Yes, there are going to be better options on the market. I think a lot of Samsung's budget phones do come with better cameras. And then of course you've got the likes of Xiaomi and Oppo. Motorola do plenty of budget phones as well. So it's just dependent on what sort of phone that you like to use. I'm really a fan of using Honor phones. Let me know down in the comments what you think of both of these phones, and I have got separate review videos and unboxing videos on both of these and some other Honor devices as well. So check those out on my channel and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.